Good evening. I'm going to call us to order. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Oh, I'm just looking for, let's see. There we are. Okay, good evening, trustees. We'll start with a roll call. Nicholas?
Today is June 26, 2024. The time is 4:32 p.m. and those in attendance are Carla Gurgiolo. Here. Joanne Harris. Here. Josie Martinez is absent. Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Here.
Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Here.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Paul Stahl is absent. Marcy Ince. Here. Beth Graham. Here. Judy Cruz is absent. Jaspreet Kaur.
Here.
Board Chair, we have a quorum.
Let's start with a silent meditation. Bring our focus to the work that we have ahead of us. And can I ask one of our staff members to just close that door? Thank you. Okay, thank you all. Sometimes I forget that I don't get many silent moments in a day, so it's kind of nice to just refocus, yes. Just a reminder that our meeting is being live streamed, so for trustees, please ensure that you enable your mic prior to sharing comments. We'll start with approval of minutes. The minutes were sent to you in your packet ahead of time and are also included in this version that's on the desk. Okay, thank you. We have a motion from Ms. Harris and a second from Beth Graham. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we'll, just to confirm, did we have any public comments? And no one signed up? Okay, thank you. And next, we will move to item number 2, which is a report from the library board chair. At the last meeting, I had asked the naming committee to schedule public meetings for the Texana Gallery and Las Palmas. Those meetings have both been posted. The Texana Gallery one will be on July 13th, and the input meeting for the Las Palmas Plaza, the plaza located outside of Las Palmas, is going to be on July 22nd. I also wanted to report that I was unable to attend the special called board meeting that was held on June 21st. I want to thank Judy, who presided over that meeting, and I also hear it was a very successful meeting, so I'm looking forward to next steps from our executives. And then I also will be reporting during our ad hoc ILA committee on activities related to that. Next, I'll ask trustees if you have any library activities to report on. I'm going to start on the right just to mix things up a little bit. Carla?
Summer with SAPL kickoff. It was very well attended. There was bubbles everywhere. It was fabulous. I had a great time. Of course, my son had an amazing time running around in the bubbles. It was a great event. I've been to many of them, and that one's probably my most favorite. I like it outside on the balcony. It was very nice.
I also attended the summer kickoff. I was really excited because normally we have the kickoff during the week at like 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. So it was really exciting to actually have it on a Saturday, and I really do hope it continues because the amount of children there was amazing. And I'm not saying that 10 o'clock is early in the morning, but that terrace was crowded, and the minute those bubbles started, it was mayhem, but good mayhem. So it was a very exciting event, lots of smiling faces, and I look forward to next year.
It's like organized chaos you're describing.
Yes, the best kind.
Marcy?
Other than returning some materials at Parman Library, I will pass.
Okay, thanks, Marcy. I'm going to give Paul a second since you just got here, and Joanne?
Hey, I went to the Schaefer Branch Library to vote, and I was very happy to see that they had adult Legos. And you know, most of the time you think of Legos with little children, but they have adult ones, and they have them out where you can see them, and they're just very creative and everything. I was just really happy to see that. And I did come to the kickoff for the reading program at Central, and it was marvelous. I mean, it was at least 100 children out on that balcony, the very least, running into the bubbles and everything. It was very nice and very creative. I went to the District 2 Senior Citizen building on W.W. White Road and the Carver Learning Center service. They had an informational session, which was very informative. I was very happy how that the learning specialist, I didn't know him because he's new, and he engaged with the citizens, and they really did enjoy it because he did a little bingo game with what is those emojis that I've never seen. And then on Saturday, upcoming this Saturday, they're going to have, the Carver is going to have their third annual South Texas Historical Black College University Summer Send-Off and Career Fair. And so that's going to be, you know, something real special. And they did have also their 5th annual African American Book Festival also that I attended. But thank you.
I attended my committees, and I won't go through all the dates and committees, but I did go to Facilities Committee, Budget Committee, and Executive Search Committee.
Hello. I went to the Collins Garden Library on June 15th. They had a school, Conjunto Heritage Taller, and it's a school that teaches conjunto and accordion to kids from 5 to 82. There was a lady, her name is Mary Valdez, and she was playing the accordion like, I don't know, it was fabulous, the whole thing. So they had a lot of their students perform what they were learning in the school. And it was from 2 to 3, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, I was able to attend the special meeting for the executive director, and did have happened to have a personal funeral since the last meeting, and the burial was over at San Fernando No. 2, so we got to go by Las Palmas and see at least I should say slow progress, but the preparations for those wonderful improvements. So that's going to be exciting to see. But other than that, nothing else to report.
I will admit I was jealous from the pictures that I saw from the summer kickoff, which many of you posted. And I really was like, I want to go to a bubble fair afterwards too. So I missed the one at Landa, but I'll have to catch the next one. Next, we have our report from our interim library director, Kathy Donlin.
Thank you. So I too had to miss the bubble party, but I spent 2 Saturdays in June at budget meetings, so that's something. Also fun in a different way. So we had our operational budget meeting with the city manager on Saturday, June 15th. I'll share a little bit more information about that later in the agenda. We also had our capital budget meeting with the city manager on June 22nd. And again, I'll share a little bit more detail on that when we get to the budget update. Also, the city conducted a community survey. So this is something that happens every 2 years. And it's two things, really. One is a statistically valid community survey around customer satisfaction with city services. And then the other part is more of a convenience survey about budget needs that will inform the fiscal 25 budget development process. So it's that SA Speak Up around the budget. So a couple of really great results for the library in the statistically valid survey about customer satisfaction is that the library system, due to all the hard work of the team and the guidance of this board, achieved a 96% customer satisfaction rate. That's awesome. Yes. So that is actually a 2% increase from the last survey. So we kind of joked when we got 94%, saying, well, I don't know if there's anywhere to go from here, but now we have 96%.
Very dangerous precedent.
Yes, so now we're going to go for 98%? Okay. Then also, what this particular firm does is they do many of the Texas city surveys around customer satisfaction, so they're able to compare San Antonio city departments against other Texas cities. And so compared to Austin, Dallas, El Paso, and Fort Worth, which are the 4 that they have available right now, Houston is actually underway. Now we rank number 1 among all those cities for library. Overall, the city as a whole for services has an 87% customer satisfaction rate, which also leads the cities in the state, and really compared to the nation, the median is somewhere around 47% or something. Yeah, it's really quite an achievement. So our 87% is quite high. And then we'll share with you tomorrow a link where you can look at the detailed report if you'd like to look at it some more. And there's kind of a fun dashboard where you can do different parameters and see different information. The other part of it is the SA Speak Up campaign about the budget development. Again, this is not a statistically valid survey, but it's a way to get some input from the community. It's mainly around what areas of need the citizens see that the city has. You can imagine that streets, sidewalks, drainage, that kind of is at the top of the list. Library is really at the bottom of the list, and I attribute it to that high customer satisfaction. The city manager, just as our leader, has assured us that, hey, just because it's at the bottom of the list, you don't want to put things in reverse, right? So it doesn't mean that there won't be investment in the library. We also have a personnel update for you. We sent you the customary memo about these updates, which you also have in your packet in front of you, but I'll just highlight them very briefly. So first, sad to say that our library facilities manager, Rose Navarro, who's part of our senior management team, will be transferring to another city department, the Center City Development Office. Rose has been with us since 2017. She started as a facilities coordinator, and she was promoted to facilities manager. In the interim, while we're hiring, which we'll do quickly, Jessica is going to assign some interim duties. And there's Rose. I see her. So Rose just has been an amazing team member, so thank you, Rose. We also have a new team member. His name is Nathan Roberts. He started on Monday. He is going to be our special projects manager. He's going to handle contracts and some other special projects for us, as well as assist me with some development work with our foundation, with the Friends. And so we're really excited to welcome Nathan to the team. I want to thank Randall Polasic in particular because he has been handling all of our contracts coordination while this has been vacant. And so I just appreciate his work. We have a new HR manager assigned to the library. Her name is Alma Garza. She started also on Monday. So we'll have Alma helping us with HR. And I did want to share with the board some very, very sad news. You may remember Ray Fraga, who was on our senior management team. He started with us in 2005 as a department systems manager. He passed away recently. So we are very, very saddened by that loss. It's a huge loss. He was a wonderful person, super energetic, friendly, just a real team player. So we wanted to share that news with you. And I think that's it for my report.
Thank you. Saddened to hear of Ray's passing, and also sad to hear Rose is going to be moving on to a new role. But I know the team, that your receiving team, is probably very excited to have you on the, so we'll try to get onto that excitement too. Next, we have the budget report. I think Gabby. I'm not going to say that. Okay.
Budget as of the end of May, so that's on the green sheet. As of the end of May, 67%. Bottom line, we're at 65% spent with encumbrances or 63% without them. Overall, we are slightly behind on spending, but this is due to the capital outlay category, which I've explained before. It takes more planning and longer lead times to receive items in, so we continue to be slightly behind in that category. This month, if you'll notice, the revised budget column has been updated for the mid-year budget ordinance that council approved on May the 2nd. So what we do is we do an estimate in the middle of the year. They take that to council and they adjust the budget according to that. Bottom line, we had a reduction of $7,000, not much, but we were also able to align the budgets with our actual spending. So if you look at the report last month, you'll see over time we were overspent by 1,453%. This report here, you'll see that we're around 40% spent. So we were just able to move around some, savings in one place and move that budget into other places where we are needing to fund more items. So that was basically my report. If you have any questions.
Any questions for Gabby? I had one question, Gabby. The line item, other contract services, can you tell us what that means?
So other contractual services, this is where the payment for the Petrenko operating expenses posts, we pay the YMCA. They pay the electricity, monthly and annual maintenance for that facility, and then we pay them this amount per year.
Just a one-time charge, a once-a-year charge, I should have said. Okay, thank you.
Gabby, I have a quick question. On the, I'm noticing on the maintenance buildings maintenance line item, we're at 94%. Any concern about rest of the year?
If you take the encumbrances out, we're at 68%. So that's just basically, we're holding the monthly maintenance for HVAC and the elevator escalators and all of the landscape maintenance that we do. We're holding those funds because we pay those out monthly. So if you take that amount, the $284,000 out of the equation, we're right at 68% spent. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Report from the Executive Committee. The committee did meet to set the agenda for today's meeting. We met on June 18th. And then next, a report from the Advocacy Committee. I understand they did not meet this reporting period. Next, report from the Budget Committee. Joanne? Okay. Is there an agenda item later?
There is.
Okay.
But Haley's going to give a brief report about the non-action items. by that
Thank you.
committee.
Library staff plan to continue to develop this improvement so that we might bring it forward again in fiscal year '26. Kathy asked if the Budget Committee wants to continue with the board chair letter to the city manager prior to the library staff meeting with the city manager. Some of the things have already happened that we discussed in the meeting, but a draft, the committee decided they did want to continue with that, and a draft was created and sent to the committee for their feedback and then forwarded to the board chair for her signature. And some of the next steps with the budget process included the meeting with the city manager on June 15th, the meeting regarding the capital budget on June 22nd, and then in the future, the city manager will introduce the proposed fiscal year '25 budget to city council on August 15th. So the budget committee is scheduled to meet again on July 3rd. And then later in the meeting tonight, Kathy will present an update on the fiscal year '25 budget development process.
Facilities Committee did meet, and we do have updates.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let's see if this thing's, there we go. So we just have a few project updates of some of the active projects that are going on, and then we also have a full listing of all of our projects in the construction report which is in your packet. So the first project we're going to talk about is the Brook Hollow parking lot expansion. That we've got a new parking lot which is going to add 45 parking spaces to the vacant lot, which is next door to the lot. You can see right there the parking lot expansion. So that project is moving along. We've got a communication plan in place. We're having biweekly project meetings to keep up with progress, to make sure that branch staff is informed of what's going on. So that project is moving along smoothly. They're working on some utility work right now, getting the undergrounds in place, and then they'll start working on some curbs and drainage. The next project is the Johnston Branch Library. That is the HVAC replacement project, which is a $500,000 capital improvement project in District 4. We currently are in progress of we closed that location on May 20th. The interim service is being held at Miller's Pond Community Center. The construction is ongoing. We're having biweekly project meetings there as well, and we're having constant discussions about changes that we have to do, because as we tear ceilings apart, we are discovering ductwork that wasn't where it was supposed to be. So we're working through those projects as we move forward. The Central Library Texana Bond project, that's here in, at this library. We went to, let's see, May 2nd was the council action to get the construction contract approved, and construction did start on May 28th of this year, and they're working on the schedule right now to get things moving along, and we'll provide that update as soon as we have a more precise timeline of reopening that project. We are still doing the interim service down in the Central Lido space here at first floor at Central. The Brazan Branch Library roofing project, that was a District 5 insurance claim. That was when we had some hail damage done. So that project has been completed. The library closed on April 29th, and we reopened on June 10th. So here's a couple of aerial views of the new roof that's on there. So that project has been completed effectively, so we're good with that one. That was a metal roof before, yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the Las Palmas Branch Library, so this one, we do have a construction contract anticipated to go to council in August for the front addition. As was mentioned earlier, there is going to be a meeting at the Memorial Branch Library about the naming of that plaza area over at Las Palmas on July 22nd. So we will keep you posted as the construction contract gets approved, and then we can start finalizing a contract with that, or a schedule with the contractor once they have that in place. And that is the end of the project updates. If there's any questions? Sure. The very first.
Excited to see that it's starting. This 792, was that all public funding, or was that a mix? Was that a portion?
That's all public funding, yes.
So that all came with like the assistance of Councilman Courage's office?
Yes,
Is that
that
right?
was, and
Okay.
that was a really.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a great story, and one I think maybe we later can discuss in more detail. I think that's like an amazing addition he's providing for the community there that could be helpful for us to think about with other districts as well. Thank you. Any questions for Andrea or Mark?
I do have one other update, though, for the Carver Branch Library, so I just want to mention that that one is moving forward. We're going through the schematic design phase on that. We are getting ready to we're supposed to have the CMAR contract, the construction manager at risk contract. That's supposed to be going in August to the city council for approval. So once that happens, then we can really kick that into gear and get moving forward, because we'll have a contractor on board. So, yeah. Any questions on that or any other project?
I had one question about Johnston, and it was just signage to let people know that, Mel, can you go to that slide? I know it would be a lot to put on signage, you know, the hours that they're open, but just something that says that the temporary location is there. I actually drive by there now every morning for the past like 3 weeks. And I know on the marquee, it talks about how the fish are being filled in the pond there. But I looked to see if there was anything that mentioned, hey, the temporary library spot is there, and I couldn't find anything. And then I also had a coworker who put books on reserve at Johnston and then was redirected to go back, and she wasn't aware of it. So I don't know if there's a way that we can just make it known that that is the location with a temporary sign or something.
Yeah, we'll definitely work on that. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay.
Questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Next, a report from the naming committee. And Josie's not here. The naming committee did not meet. Next, a report from the ad hoc board policy committee.
I can give a quick update that we're working through the revision of the campaign sign policy. Dale, anything you wanted to add?
Elections, when this big general election is coming up in November, which makes complete sense. I think we're going to take a month off since our next scheduled meeting was July 4th, and I don't know, somehow, you know, I couldn't get everyone interested in meeting that day, including me, but then we're going to be probably bringing meeting room rentals to you next.
Gail asked himself, do I want to meet on July 4th? No, I don't. Okay. Next, a report from the naming, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. Next, a report from the ad hoc executive search committee. And Judy is not here. I do have an update from her. Jessica, would you be providing the update? Perfect, thank you.
Library Board's ad hoc executive search committee has been very busy. They met on May 30th, June 12th, and also worked to organize a special call board meeting on June 21st with the consultants hired to facilitate the executive search recruitment. And the committee will be meeting again tomorrow. So they're continuing the work, and The goal is to reach out to the trustees who are not able to attend the work session to gather their feedback as well before moving forward to the next step.
Thanks for the update, Jessica. I think it would be great for us to include the city's recent rating results that Kathy reported on, both the city and the library system, as something for the executive search consultants to use as their marketing materials as well. Thank you. Next, we'll have a report from the Ad hoc ILA Committee, and our committee, we met on June 18th, 2024, but I also wanted to draw your attention to two letters that are included in your packet. The first one is a single sheet that looks like this, and the second one is multi-sheets, and it looks like this. Just to provide you a very quick overview, the details are included in this letter. The city manager, mayor, and I met with the county judge, Peter Sakai, county manager David Smith, and other members of county staff on May 28th regarding the Bexar County ILA. This letter provides some additional details about the status of negotiations, but we are still in the process of pursuing an agreement with the Bexar County. After the May 28th meeting, our next scheduled meeting should have occurred on June 21st, but unfortunately it was canceled. And then we will continue to give you any relevant updates as time goes on.
And just to share the packet that Edward just passed out, it's still the May 2nd letter, but it has the attachments. We failed to put the attachments in the first handout we gave you.
And all of that's been sent electronically as well, so you can peruse it electronically as well. Next, we have a report from the San Antonio Public Library Foundation.
Members of our executive committee and I met with the executive search consultants last Friday, and so had a great conversation with them, and really talked about, kind of the things that we're looking for. And I was able to give them some names of library directors that I really loved, because I had just come back from the International Library Fundraisers Conference, which is a small conference that just started about 6 or 7 years ago. And it's primarily for foundation staff, friends of libraries, and then a few library directors come every year to do different presentations. So I was able to say, I really like that guy in Austin, Roosevelt, and things like that. So so they appreciated some specificity with who we really like and kind of what we were looking for. On July 17th, our board has our annual Board Builder Bus Tour. Anyone who's listed on our liaison list got an invitation to that, but if anybody else would like to join us, it's always a fun time. It's part of our 3 to 4 year strategy of having our board visit every single library branch in the city. So we rotate our meetings around, as well as hitting 4 or so branches every year with this bus tour. And so we do it at lunchtime, and everybody has a box lunch. And I know some of you have been with us in the past, and it's a lot of fun. It's primarily a team building activity for our board, but you're certainly invited to come with us as well. This year we're visiting Tobin, Thousand Oaks, Brook Hollow, and Encino. So Jessica Zarita has a big spreadsheet of all the places that we have been over the last couple of years and where we should go, and we were just really lucky that they're all geographically close together, because the first year we were kind of all over town. So so it'll be a little bit easier. That first year, Ramiro told me he didn't think we could do it in the allotted 2 hours, but we did it. I think I mentioned before that we were working on a similar project to what we did with HEB at the beginning of the year, visiting some library branches and then making gifts to each branch. We now, in July, have some visits coming up, and Whataburger is going to do $500 for children's programming for every branch in the system. We're not visiting all the branches again, because I told them that HEB thing almost killed me in January. But we are going to visit 7 branches, just so that some of their leaders, some of their Whataburger unit leaders can meet branch managers and things like that. So the concept is the same, to get more of a neighborhood library and neighborhood Whataburger feel. And so we hope to continue that with other companies that are throughout the city. And then, of course, we are ready to sign people up for going over the edge. We had a little bit of a false start with our system, but we've transferred to a better system, and so we are ready to sign Repellers up. This is a cooperative fundraiser, so we will be giving the same percentage of our net proceeds to the library as we have always done with Katrina Ball, and so we hope that you all will support and find a way, even if you don't want to go over the edge, to participate in this fundraiser. So again, that's September 21st, so we are just about a little under 90 days out. We've got some really great folks who are going to be competitive, some of the folks from the Leadership San Antonio classes. They're competing against each other. Class 48 has already jumped on and started raising money, so we're excited about that. Do you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
How do you anticipate the profits from this compared to the Katrina Ball?
It should be a lot higher because Katrina Ball is very expensive to put on. So we anticipate raising more money, maybe not in this first year, but going forward. So Over the Edge is an event that when I was with the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Central and South Texas, we did it. They did it 12 years. They did it 7 years while I was there, and I was Chief Development Officer when we started that fundraiser. And in the first year, we raised about $200,000, but over time, it doubled nearly every year until the last year I was there, we raised $735,000. And Katrina Ball, while it's a wonderful event and we love it and it's great for the community, because of the expectations that were set very early on, it is very expensive to put on. In fact, when I took the job, I looked at the financials and I called Bill Fisher and I said, "What in the world have you gotten me into?" And that, just to be very honest about it. So it's never raised a lot of money. So we do anticipate we can raise, and that's why we're going to this every other year model, because we really do, I mean, our job is to fundraise. And so we really do want a high impact fundraiser that has the potential to grow to be, something really incredible. We would love to, within the next, 4 years or so, be raising $1 million with it.
For that, the update that you provided, that's excellent. I'm very excited about Over the Edge. I have that on my calendar. I won't be going over the edge, but I'll be sponsoring others, I think. And I just also wanted to call out the Whataburger, similar to the HEB funding, not the big HEB funding, but the branch level funding. I think even though it's smaller and incremental, it's really, really impactful, and it lets the branches know that they are our front line and they're super important to us. So I really appreciate you looking at both of the horizons. So thank you for that. Okay, next we have a report from the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library.
Good afternoon, trustees. Yes, like Amy, the executive committee from the Friends had the opportunity to meet with the consultants for the search committee, and it was a really productive morning we spent with them, and it was great because we also did discuss the consultants' report concerning the partnership between the library and the Friends. And so we felt that we appreciate the fact that we were included in this and that you could hear our voices. So there are some changes with the Friends. You may have been apprised of the fact that the bookseller is currently looking for a new manager. There was time for a change in the structure of it, so we have begun that search for the new manager. And also with regards to our Amazon store, while we were making a lot of money on a per book basis, and that had been growing over the years, this past year we decided, since looking at that, to increase the number of hours for the staff, hoping that there would be a commensurate raise in the revenue, and it didn't work out. The staff expenses were just eating us alive. So as of Friday, we will no longer have a paid staff person handling the Amazon store, and we will no longer be listing new items for sale. However, everything that is currently listed is still available for sale, and the volunteers will be handling fulfillment through the end of the year. Now, the volunteers are disappointed, understandably, and because they do see the value that there are items we get that our book sales are not the traditional book sales won't receive the revenue that these items have. So they have offered to maybe take this on as a project. We are going to see how well the remainder of the items sell throughout this year to see if running it as a volunteer opportunity can produce significant funds. So it's not gone yet, and it may not be gone. So I will just keep you all apprised as to how sales are going when we have this new model run by the volunteers. And then also, we are also in the process in updating the MOUs with the city and the library. So Kathy has offered to put her team together to do the first draft, and I gladly accepted that. And the last thing is our next board meeting for the Friends is on July 28th, and we'll be at Geta. So any questions? Gara.
Comment. Thank you for the update, John, and I wanted to make a comment that it sounds like an innovative idea to have a volunteer-run operation rather than like a paid, operation. So I applaud your team for considering that and look forward to hearing more about the results. Thanks. All right, I'd like to recognize Assistant City Manager David McCary is here. Thank you for joining us, sir. And next, I'm going to invite Dale to the podium to introduce our speaker for the report for the San Antonio Book Festival.
Festival, the organization. So we have an event and an organization with almost the same name to give her annual report that we're both a venue and a partner with this really, really exciting event. And I know you'll look forward to hearing what Lily has to say. And after her report, we are going to, we're going to hand you out a packet of information about this year's festival.
Thank you, Dale. Hi, everybody. So this year's 12th annual San Antonio Book Festival took place on Saturday, April 13th, and I think I can safely say that it was the best book festival that we have ever had. It was fabulous. I mean, we worked really closely with the weather gods, and the weather was beautiful, and I mean, it was just the best weather that we could have asked for, which of course cooperated to the highest attendance we'd ever seen. We're calling it a 25,000 attendance throughout the day. As you all know, there's no official entry, there's no ticketing, so it's kind of hard to gauge attendance, and it's all very open, and people can come and go, so that metric is always a little hard to measure, but just judging from, the attendance inside the author sessions, which we do count, we know that the attendance was the best it's ever been. We featured 97 authors from all over the country in 66 sessions, and more than a quarter of the sessions exceeded capacity, by which I mean there were people, standing along the perimeter, there were people sitting on the floor. It was just fabulous, but also, just a huge indicator to us that that we're growing, that we need bigger spaces, we need more spaces, which are, it's a stressful challenge, but it's the best problem to have, right? I think in your packets, you'll see that 31% of books sold out. We do sell books at the book festival. Our official bookseller is local independent bookstore Nowhere Bookshop, and they had also a record year for sales. And it was, we have a literary director. This was her second book festival. Her name is Anna Dobbin, and she's just been fabulous. She just loves to nerd out with book data and do like deep dives in what is San Antonio reading, what is San Antonio buying. She gets data from the library in terms of what are readers here checking out, and that really helps her program and curate the lineup. And so, if you've been coming to the book festival for years, you'll notice that we're doing a lot more genre, and that is, in response to this kind of like deep dive research into what readers here in our city want. So you've seen a lot more horror panels, you've seen thriller, you've seen romance, and those are the most packed sessions. Those are the ones where people are sitting on the floor. So, you'll have in your packet like a list of the highest attended sessions, and I did it a little differently this year. Instead of just, telling you that every session in the Russell Hill Rogers stage venue had 200 plus people, I really wanted to highlight that most of the number of sessions that exceeded capacity. So that's kind of what that list deep dives on. So you'll see, that the horror session was at 180% capacity, 160% capacity. There were maybe 150 to 200 people in the room, but that room was packed. Versus, in comparison, our largest venue, which is the Russell Hill Rogers stage that we, construct on the Library Plaza, that has capacity of 350, and that venue was never packed, but, there were 200 plus people in that venue all day long. The largest attendance by far of any session was Magic Theater. This was the first year since COVID that Magic was back at the book festival, and that had 461 people. Just to give you a sense of what that looked like, that venue has 160 capacity. 160 capacity, if you didn't hear me. So that was, just overflowing. This was by far the most local/regional author lineup in years. Nearly 70% of the authors were either local or regional, by which I kind of mean like Texas-based, right? 52% of our author lineup identified as people of color. That is, a skewed metric because it's self-reporting, and so a lot of people don't self-report. And, you'll also have in your packet a list of the top-selling authors, which, Sandra Cisneros is always at the top of that list. Even though she doesn't put out a new book every year, people are still buying her existing books. Sylvia Moreno Garcia, a horror writer, just hugely commercial bestseller, also at the top of the list. And then a lot of children's authors made the list for top-selling authors. This year's children's lineup was also outstanding. The line to get your book signed by a children's author was around the block. And just to give you a sense of what that day was like, the day ends at 5, but the last person to get their book signed was happening at 8 o'clock that night. And that was the mother-daughter duo behind the hugely popular children's series, The Dork Diaries. They signed till 8 o'clock. Top-selling genres, 62% fiction, followed closely by middle grade and young adult. Middle grade, of course, is that Dork Diaries series. And I mentioned these things, it might seem, very detailed kind of information that I'm giving you, but really I'm giving you insight into how we pick things for next year. Because everything that I've just shared with you really informs how we make decisions about next year, because it tells us what San Antonio wants to see more of, right? In your packet also is, once again, we engaged Giant Noise for publicity, so you'll see just kind of a little highlight of media articles that they were able to get for us. But more significantly, this year we invested more dollars into a social media campaign, especially one that focused on the Austin markets and the Corpus Christi markets, because we were trying to get people to make a trip to San Antonio, like travel to San Antonio to come to the book festival. And following the book festival, we did a survey and found that 20% of our audience was from outside Bexar County. So we'll do that again next year. I mean, it helps us, you know, with our city funding to be able, and our city and our county funding to be able to say, you know, for every dollar that is invested into the book festival, we turn that into, you know, $3 for the local economy just with tourism dollars. Any other things that I thought were really just kind of significant to point out from that survey? 70% of our audience is aged 26 to 55, so kind of a great pocket to be in. And also, I think we can attribute it to our social media campaign. It was split pretty evenly. Half and half of our audience was first-timers to the book festival, which is great. And overwhelmingly, people reported that they will be returning to our event. Also in your packets, I just do it as an aside because, you know, as Dale mentioned, the name of the event is the San Antonio Book Festival, but we are also a nonprofit named the San Antonio Book Festival, and we do a whole bunch of other great work in the city, and some of that happens Book Festival weekend, and it's all the work that we're doing in Title I schools. We partner with SAISD, and we partner with Edgewood ISD, and we send authors to those schools, and we buy books for kids, and so that weekend we distributed 2,000 books to kids both in schools, and then we do field trips to the festival where we, again, give them books so they can meet an author and get their book signed. So having said all that, I think you can see that the theme is growth and success, right? Like we had a banner year, but the main challenges were space, capacity, and just we might have outgrown some of our spaces. So we've been in talks with Kathy and with Dale. We've identified pockets of the library. There are still pockets of the library that we haven't used before. So we've identified some venues in here that we are thinking of utilizing for next year. And then, you know, I'm sharing with you that our biggest challenge is that UTSA will likely be under construction next year. Right now, we don't know the extent to which it will impact next year's book festival, but we really can't wait to find out. We're already planning next year's festival, so we have to kind of move forward under the assumption that we will not be able to use UTSA, and that's where, you know, the library team has been really helpful in helping us say, you know, okay, well, if you can't use Copper Kitchen at UTSA, you could use, you know, the 4th floor terrace or the basement patio, you know. They've been great at that, and then our team just kind of took a step back, you know, abandoned the old traditional way of thinking and thought, where could we grow to? And so there's a Central Christian Church just behind the library that has a capacity of 500. It would be our largest venue, and they've agreed to let us use that space for free. Very kind of them. There's also a park right in front of that church, Romana Park, and then there's Madison Square Park just a couple blocks away. So I say all this just to let you know that next year's festival is likely going to look very different, but it's, you know, really us trying to solve the problem of we need to grow. We need to find new pockets, find new venues that have the capacity that we need so that we can deliver the amazing festival that San Antonio deserves. Any questions?
Couple questions. You said you had 97 authors. How many authors apply?
Gosh, so our lineup selection is really a combination of submissions. That's where somebody, as you said, applies to have their book considered in the lineup, and then it's also invitations. And that's where our literary director is having meetings right now with publishers, and they, you know, pitch to her essentially, like, this is what our fall catalog looks like, this is what our spring catalog looks like, this is who we think would be good for San Antonio, and it just becomes a negotiation between them. So submissions, we receive upwards of 200, maybe even 300. I don't know, the office gets frightening with just the constant package deliveries of submissions. And then invitations, I think we do about maybe like 170 of those, just assuming, you know, people are going to be unavailable, people are not going to be able, people are going to say no, so you always over-invite, and that's how we arrive at that 100.
My second question is, what kind of profits do you make on this, and how have they grown through the years?
What kind of profits do we make on the book festival?
How have they changed with the, you know, with more people attending?
Don't make the book festival. I mean, we're bleeding. The book festival is offered for free to the public, so we don't make any money off of the book festival. It costs right now. It costs just over $500,000 to put on the logistics of the book festival, and that doesn't even include, you know, staff salaries. So that's just like the things that you see that day. And then next year, because we're growing, we do anticipate, you know, that cost will go up. Sure, but it doesn't put us in profits. I mean, the vendor booths are, you know, $200. A lot of our vendor, we don't have that enough. We have not had the space to have like a proper vendor marketplace area. You know, you just reminded me that one of the things I didn't say is immediately following the book festival, we go into what we call the debrief stage, which is we meet with every single committee chair and we just learn everything that went bad, everything that went great, because obviously we're just a team of 2 full-time employees and we can't be everywhere that day. And we learn a lot. But one of the reasons this event has been so, you know, successful is that we do the hard work of making the improvements that are needed. And what we heard overwhelmingly this year was, we need more space. Like the book sales tent is too small. The book signing area is too small, so we need to expand. So, you know, this goes to your question of we don't have anywhere to put more vendors, but as we have conversations about growing, I mean, the plan is to, you know, hopefully activate the path to Madison Square Park with more vendors. So we would be able, we turn people away every year who want to, you know, be a vendor at the book festival, but we just haven't had the space to put them. So hopefully next year that would change a bit. Oh, thank you.
I love it. I'm there right, when the doors open, I'm there to the. Thank you so much. All your work is very meaningful to the city, and I think that such an important component that we did not have just even 12 years ago. So thanks so much. I can only imagine how much work that is to put on, and it ran so well.
I'm just curious, where you show the breakdown between local authors and regional and national. We do have several authors who live in San Antonio but have a national audience. How do you work it out along those lines?
If they live here, we identify them as a local author.
Okay.
When I talk about national authors, I'm talking about those that we're flying in or that, you know, their publisher is flying in. But yeah, if they're here locally, odds are that they're already engaged with us in some way. So if they have a new book, they might be in the lineup. If not, they might be moderating at the book festival. That's why you see a lot of the same faces moderating.
I can't believe you do that with 2 paid staff members.
I can't either. Magic.
You are definitely to be congratulated. And I agree with you, this year's was the best yet.
Congratulations on the success. I mean, that is mirror what Marcy said. You used to bring a lot of pride to the city. You know, it was such a well-run event. I was curious, and I appreciate the breakdown of the demographics and all the data here. I think is really enlightening and very heartening to show. I mean, I'm liking the 40% Hispanic, 40% Caucasian white, and then the mix trickles off from there. But I think that really shows. I'm assuming that it shows a commitment on your part to try to bring as many Hispanic authors as possible in there. But my question is, with the rising success of the event, and also with 31% of the books sold out, I think that's fabulous. Is that something that gets out within the community of I mean, I'm assuming there's a book festival type community, or there's discussions that happen in the literary community about the success of the book festival.
Yes.
Is that, with the success of that getting out, does that make it easier for you to get higher, different, a broader sense of authors, or does that make it easier to get, the top-tier authors coming?
I'll say yes and no. Like, to get like those really, really big names, it comes down to cost, because those big names typically have a fee associated with them. But yeah, definitely the reputation of the book festival is growing among the literary community. There is a group of book festival directors. We meet regularly, and so yeah, it's important to be able to, just share information, learn from each other, know which author is gonna, ask for a book bundle kind of deal, or which author is really looking to go to cities that they've never been to. All that information is super helpful in planning a book festival. But also, our literary director is based in New York, where most of the publishers are, so that's also been really helpful, because she gets to meet with these publishers all the time, and just have regular meetings with them and immediately debrief with them about how did their authors like San Antonio. We just saw an article from one of our authors who was asked, what was your favorite stop of your book tour? And he said the San Antonio Book Festival. So love hearing, and that was a national author. So, they take that back to New York, and that tells the publisher, oh, well, now I want to send more authors your way, right? You're treating the author so well. And, that's part of why we do these authors, if you can imagine, they're on book tour. They tell us that sometimes they don't even know which city they're in, because the book festivals are all the same. So we really try and make ours have a San Antonio feel and a San Antonio flavor to it, so that when you're here, you're in San Antonio. And, it goes from every decision that we make to, like, we have paletas in the VIP room. So those kinds of small details that they're going to remember and take back to their publisher.
Congratulations again on the success. Can't believe it's 12 years. And unfortunately, you have it over the same time period as the French Quarter Festival. And I missed it. I missed a book festival this past year because of that. Right.
I have one more question. Jessica, sorry, this is a little bit of an afterthought. Have we communicated any of this to the executive search team, to the consultants, to include in their publicity for our new director?
Brochure is currently underway, so there is an extensive section regarding the city of San Antonio as an entity, San Antonio as a city, community, and then the library area. So absolutely something to highlight the partnership with Book Festival as well as Friends and Foundation. Thank you.
I just have a comment. I think it was a wonderful book fair. And thank you to you and everyone involved. It was run so well. I was so impressed, beginning with the VIP parking, VIP tents. You had your authors there. You had people volunteering, taking them to where they were going to speak. It was just made so easy for everyone. So the logistics was amazing. And so thank you very much. It was an incredible feat. So thank you.
The total attendance was? How many people?
25,000 this year. And again, that's throughout the day, so it doesn't mean at any given moment there are 25,000 people.
So I just want to add that I was one of the ones, I was part of the 160% capacity at the Silvia Moreno Garcia, and I thought that, oh, I'm here 45, I've never had to wait or not have a space when I've gone to the book session. So I was like, oh, 45 minutes, it's fine. And then I see the line and I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. My anxiety is not kicking in yet. And then the line gets longer behind me and I see them counting and I'm like looking at my best friend. I said, we're not gonna make it in. This is the one I really want. And then they ushered us in and they opened the sides and I was so excited because other people and in other situations, I think you can tell a lot about an organization by how they adjust and pivot when a situation like that occurs. And I commend you and your staff because you could have just turned everybody away. You could have said, sorry, we're at capacity. this is it, you know, catch the live stream later. But you accommodated every single book goer who wanted to see that session, and the others too. So I was really impressed. I was really excited. I did not care that I had to stand because it was an amazing session and I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. But y'all did an amazing job making sure everybody who was there got to experience what they wanted to experience. So I truly appreciate that.
That was a very, I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to go check out the Sylvia Moreno session and see how that's doing. And then seeing the line wrapped around the block, and immediately there we were on the radios, bring the curtains down. It was a stressful way to start the day.
Appreciation. You missed the meeting immediately after. It was too close to the book festival. You probably weren't even awake that day.
Probably not.
But there was the amount of accolades you got today times 2 because it was so fresh and everyone was just raving about it. So go back and watch the live stream sometime when you have time. But I also want to congratulate. I almost feel like people are walking around wanting to spend money and they're like visiting the booths, you know, and we channeled some of them over to John and his friends group. And, you know, they spent money there, but people want to buy stuff, I think. So I think it's a great opportunity. The construction issue, I think, can turn into a really great opportunity. So I'm excited to see how that works. And I'm also disappointed that I personally did not realize how much of a shortfall there was with the operational expense for the book festival and your ongoing fundraising efforts. So please let us know how we can help support you, even just to get the word out about the book festival entity as well. And if there's anything else that we can do to help, let us know.
We are trying to come up with, you know, solutions because everything that we've done up to this point is free and open, which is wonderful, but, you know, falls on me to do that fundraising lift. So we are introducing a program that is intended to generate some revenue. It's called Spotlight. We're doing our first event in October. So yeah, we're coming up with solutions.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again. Congratulations to your team. I know you have 2 paid volunteers or 2 paid staff members, but you have like a amazing volunteer team too. So appreciate them. Thank you. Okay, next we have a staff report, San Antonio Public Library's 3-year aspirational collection development plan. Oh, we can't hear you.
Hear me now? There we go. Let me bring this a little bit up. Right, I can't believe this is the first PowerPoint of the evening, but I'm going to keep it quick and easy. As part of our collection improvement request this year, we developed a 3-year aspirational collection plan. I'm here with me, and he's not going to get up, but it's Troy Holmes. Sorry, he moved. Troy Hoyle, excuse me. And he's our collection development coordinator, so he played a large part in developing this plan. So as a quick background, in fiscal year 2023, the city manager helped us complete our 5-year plan early. That was a big boost to our collection budget and meant we started seeing circulation numbers soar over the last couple of years. In FY24, the city manager wanted to keep us afloat and not get behind, so he contributed additional. And then this year, we're going to be looking towards beginning a plan to achieve median of an aspirational set of library systems that we'll see in a slide in just a second. Essentially, this first year, we're asking for an additional $2 million. $1 million of that is recurring, and that would go towards things like digital books, database subscriptions, and more. And also one-time perpetual license to San Antonio Express News, which I'll talk about in just a second. So that one-time recurring does not add up to the one-time money is not included in the total improvement since it's just a 1-year, one-off purchase. And then the subsequent years we'll be looking to get $2.2 million recurring in order to get as close to that, as close as we can to the median of our aspirational set of libraries, which you can see here. So on the left, both of these are from fiscal year 22 data. We're trying to get 23 data as soon as we can. On the left are our COSA city peers and their libraries and how they're doing. As you may recall, we had a 5-year goal of reaching about $3.52. This is based on our TSLAC total service area population, and we came very close to achieving that. This coming 3-year cycle, we're going to be looking more closely at the libraries you see represented on the right-hand side, which were selected by me and collection development staff based on positive attributes, high circulation, high funding, and other things that we admire about them, like national awards and so forth. We kept Austin in there to give us sort of a grounding in the Texas city peer system, and we added a number of other large county systems that you can see there. As an example of why we chose one, the Kent District Library there is where we borrowed the idea for the core collection that became the Corazon collection. They were the first to visibly implement that, and we were able to confer with them before doing our project. However you like, yeah. Looks like Kathy's going to.
Yeah, those are the city peers that the city of San Antonio has selected, and we've used them probably for 15 years. So it is basically based on size and being like peers, but in some cases, there's a heavy focus on Texas. So
This is not a COSA peer, this is a SAPL peer list.
it's a city of San Antonio peer city list, and then we use the information from the major library system for that city. Yes, ma'am.
Pausing. Keep rolling? Okay. All right, so in year one, to give you an idea what we will be spending that money on, it's not just about adding more to our collection, but it's about improving the diversity of our existing collection, and especially our digital and online resources. The big purchase that we've been wanting to do for quite a while now is perpetual access to the entire run of the San Antonio Express News starting in 1867 through 1990. This would be a one-time payment. We would have access for life, and it would be a great resource for our Texana collection, among other things. We do have access to post-1990, but that's part of a different contract, so I just wanted to make clear that that's why we stopped in the 90s, not because of what happened in 1990. We have a few additional resources we're aiming, setting our sights on, and that may not be the exact vendor listed here, but you may be familiar with some of these. We would like to introduce streaming music to our collection, since that's become such a popular and now inflating expense for a lot of people. So Hoopla offers that. We have on our list looking at Maki Maki, which briefly is just a Spanish language children's activity and streaming source for quite a lot of different things. It's been purchased by Austin and has proven very popular there. And then we'll be looking at getting more continuing education databases and foreign newspapers. So like Press Reader is a great photocopy of quite a number of current periodicals from all over the world in every language possible. So these would be exciting resources to get, and it would just be the year one of our 3-year plan. And then this is my last slide, so I'll keep it quick, but I wanted to kind of point out one reason we're asking for the amount of money we are is the rising popularity of digital, but also the rising cost of digital. I'm using as an example on this slide for the purpose of those charts, the new book by Lucy Foley, The Midnight Feast, which if you're a Lucy Foley fan, we just got this week, so better place your hold now before the public finds out. It's going to be a big one. But you can see that the electronic versions, typically for the library, cost about twice, even closer to 3 times what the physical copies cost, and they are by far the more popular option for most of our readers. And then just as a demonstration on that bottom graph, you can see what it costs for us to buy the book versus a consumer buying the book. And those rising library fees are becoming a point of national contention with the publishers. It's not an Overdrive problem, it's a publisher issue. So as we get more money, the cost is going up, and the amount that we can buy and the way we have to spend has to get a lot more careful. And Andrea, you look like you may have a question.
So what is the reasoning for that? Is it because, is that per license, or is that, do you get like 5 licenses for that price, or it's 1 license at $74.23?
Asked a question, that's exactly why I wanted Troy to be here tonight, so you could hear it. But I can give you a basic answer, which is there are a few different purchasing models through Overdrive. Cost per copy is one of them. In the case of the Midnight Feast, they offer it in sort of a bundle of 26 reads per copy, and then that copy evaporates. So if you have 27 people in a room, 26 people flip through a few pages of the book and then pass it on, that 27th person, it's just going to evaporate in their hands, and we have to go on to the next copy. So unlike a print book, it's done for, and that can happen very quickly with the right people who are reading and procuring things through Overdrive. I don't know if that answers your question, but
So Overdrive, this is probably part of their business model success, but they don't, they consider a read like a checkout rather than a certain percentage of the book being looked at.
I understand it, some of that they work out with the publishers themselves, so we do own things that are really truly just one copy, one use, doesn't evaporate anytime soon. I don't know why I'm using the word evaporate, maybe it's the humidity lately. But that's the idea. I think that they're under a lot of pressure on their end. I think Troy could probably speak more to that. I'm not sure if he wants to take a crack at it.
Hello, how's everyone? In regards to your question, I don't think it's so much, it's like a regular book. I mean, you can check out a book and, I do myself. I check out a lot of things that I don't read. So it works exactly the same. One checkout, it's checked out. That's sort of how it works. Same with like Canopy with the film, you could go to Blockbuster, check out, well, I dated myself, but you go to Blockbuster and check out a film and not watch it, but you're going to pay for it. It's exactly the same thing with, I think with like Midnight Feast, you could check it out and maybe you don't read it within those 3 weeks, but it counts as a solid checkout.
I just was curious, like, there's so much more of information available now digitally that, like, Overdrive knows if I'm using the Overdrive reader, if I've gone more than like 2 pages in, right? So I was just curious if that's factored into their model. I guess it's to their benefit not to at this point, but it just seems like something interesting for us to take. It would be good. I think it would be interesting for us to know over time if people are checking things out and they're like, this is a terrible book, and then just returning it, even if it's not for the Overdrive contract, as you're deciding on your long-term circulation, like how you're building the circulation, it would be good to know like what's not popular, so we're not putting the same amount of funds into it.
I had a
Some of that budgeting for sure, as we look at the overall usage of the books, we can get a good sense of which books are losing in popularity that we don't want to keep throwing money at, but use our resources wisely. Sorry.
I know, I had a follow-up to what, because now Jaspreet had me thinking of another instance. You let it lapse, that's 1 read. What if you renew it? Is that 2 reads, or is that still technically the same read? So do we lose one?
Burning another copy, he says.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we wanted to share this information is because there's such a difference between the library market for digital materials and the private market. And in short, this is about profit, right? So unlike a book, a physical book, where basically you're buying a perpetual license and you can use it as many times as people want to check it out and it remains relevant and not grubby and we don't have to weed it. Digital, it's completely different, and it really is use. So check out, yeah.
More like they're loaning to us than we're owning these things, yeah.
And another question about the physical book price for consumers versus for libraries. Is it a different quality of, is like a different quality of materials for library use, or is it the same?
No difference.
Negotiates the contracts, because they need to be fired, right? I'm saying this in jest.
Well,
but- So I think what Just Read's getting at,
I'm taking it in jest, but I will say that there are major cities like Seattle who are starting to take on the publishers and say, instead of, continuing to pay your prices, we're going to start paying for fewer books and control our budgets the way we need to control them, which means less money for the publishers in the long term and less money directly to the authors who are using those publishers and representatives.
And there is a lot of advocacy and kind of coalition building around this too. So for example, Urban Libraries Council is doing a lot of work, even lobbying in DC, that this needs to really be more like traditional published materials where the external benefit of having it available through public libraries is taken into account. And we can't just get, I'm going to say gouged, because it's a very limited market.
Yeah, I know this is something that Ramiro worked really, really hard on while he was here. He went to New York several times to meet with publishers and yell at them.
Maybe that's where he is tonight.
so just to clarify, and not to royal us any further, but to clarify, so the cost, the increased cost that the library is paying versus for the consumer market is for the exact same type of product?
Yes, and these are based on this exact book, those numbers, and they're in comparison with the Amazon prices that you would pay for, as long as you don't have an Audible account, what you would pay for that ebook or that audiobook. Yeah. Well, I think there's
Not
a public
sustainable.
perception that these books are all free to use, and really it's quite expensive, and at least in San Antonio, they're paying for it through their taxes.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Sure.
Going back to the Express News license, the $1 million one-time, will that give us access to back issues of the Light as well? Because I know that Hearst published the Light, so.
Right. We have some access right now to the back issues of the Light. We're trying to get clarification as we speak from the vendor for this. That would be Newsbank, and in order to have a full assessment of what's in this package, but we'll know soon. As soon as we find out, I'll get back to you. And
Questions for Adam? We just love asking questions, Adam. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you all.
Very insightful report. And next we have, we're going to consider the Landa Gardens Conservancy's conceptual plan for the improvement of the grounds at the Landa Branch Library. Jessica?
Good afternoon again. I am here to share some exciting news for the Landa Branch Library and our partnership, our continued partnership with the Landa Gardens Conservancy. And so here with us today is Joanna Pickett with Landa Gardens Conservancy. She will join shortly at the podium to provide a presentation. I am going to do a brief introduction. At the last Facilities Committee meeting, the Facilities Committee voted to bring this item to the full board for consideration, and it is a continuation of our public-private partnership with our Landa Gardens Conservancy, which has been in existence since 2006. And I think there may be a... Okay, so essentially the Landa Gardens Conservancy formed in 2006 to care for the grounds and the land of the Landa Branch Library. If you have not visited it recently or it's been a while, the grounds of that library are fabulous. It's a wonderful destination place for the community. The Landa Gardens, through this agreement and this partnership, maintain the grounds. They plant new plantings as needed, and they handle irrigation for the grounds. So it's a really wonderful partnership that the library has with the Landa Gardens Conservancy. And so Joanna is here as a representative of the Landa Gardens Conservancy to share with you some ideas for expanding the footprint of the Landa grounds. The formal footprint is there, but it's how it's being utilized. And so she will share that information with you, and then I will come back and share some next steps with the board and a proposed proposed action item for you to consider.
Oh, good, great. Hello, everyone. I'm Joanna Pickett. I've lived in San Antonio now for 9 years, and I have the good fortune of having been on this board, the Land Gardens Conservancy, for 6. So I'm really pleased to be here today. I was the only one who's not on vacation. No, I'm just kidding, but not really. So Land Gardens Conservancy was actually started in 2004. This is actually our 20th year, which is a really big deal for us. And part of that 20th anniversary for us is really looking back at the original master plan and trying to finish out the work that we did not complete when we first did the grounds all those 18 years ago. And so part of this is a conversation with you all about what we envision for that space and questions that you all have for us. Our expansion project, as we see it, is going to be actually $250,000. The slide has changed a little bit. Part of this for us is actually to pursue private funding in full for the full $250,000. The project scope, which I'll show you designs in 1 second, is around our property line with our neighbors in the neighborhood there. Additionally, adding to our current walkway to create a continuum of a walkway in this space, and then additional bench seating. We actually have a landscape architect design that's been completed by Asakia Designs in San Antonio. We have our bids secured, and we are really ready to begin conversations and fundraising in this space. We know we want a communications plan that will be deployed to keep our patrons, neighbors, and staff all appraised of the progress as we make it. And we have actually, the Land Gardens Conservancy we do our own annual fundraiser, and we've been very successful recently. Lots of our neighbors really care deeply about the look of the Land Gardens. And so we are actually prepared already to present 36% of the total cost of the budget from our own reserves. And so we're kind of raring to go. We also envision the project plan to begin in January 2025. That would give us the opportunity between now and then to fundraise for the resources and plant when planting is the right time for us to be planting. We would then take a pause in the summertime of 2025 and then resume the planting with the completion to be done in March of 2026. In that time frame, by the way, we don't see this as this is not going to shut anything down that we have. This is an opportunity for us to really redevelop around 25-30% of the grounds that we have. And we also have access points to that space that do not disrupt in any way, shape, or form entrance to the library or any changes in that space. I can come back to this slide, but I want to show you all what we envision, and then I can come back to it and we can go through questions. So currently, right now, I have a larger scale here. This is a zoomed-in space. You see the Landa Branch Library right in the middle of the slide on the right-hand side. The area that's colored is actually the area that we are proposing that we would enhance and beautify. Right now in the photos, you can see what it actually looks like. It's a little sparse. It's not part of the park that is activated with children or anyone currently. And the idea here is actually to continue our pathway, continuing to make it ADA compliant for more people to be able to use the entire space, activate it multi-generationally, whether it's children playing there or folks doing a great meditative walk in this space. We really want to use more of our garden for, the laughter of our children and the quiet contemplative places that people enjoy. This is what it would look like more zoomed in. You can see our pavilion here, our Valero pavilion on the left. And our goal here, the red is actually crushed stone. The gray is just cement and a continuation of what it is that we would be putting down. And then everything green here is actually not grass. The light green is grass. The darker green is actually representative here of the types of barrier plantings that we envision placing along this boundary line. One of the reasons that we're really interested in doing this is it's our 20th. We have this positive vision. We also are in a reactionary position to some complaints of children using there's a stone fence here, using it as a launch point into the neighbor's yard and swimming pool. We believe that this is a very gracious and beautiful way to kind of reduce that risk by really making it grossly uncomfortable to kind of approach that boundary line between the spaces. I am done now, and I'm here for questions.
The picture you show is mostly xeriscape, yeah, and I think going into the future, I think that's the only direction we can go. So I want to thank you for that. Yeah, I'm concerned.
That one green space that's there, kind of the bubble, that is grass, but that's the only part about it, and it's the natural grass that we have right now. Yeah.
Fencing the property of Landa or neighbors?
Not. And so we actually talked about just putting up a simple fence. And I hesitated. My sweet son is here. He had to cut down all the growth between my neighbor's fence and my fence yesterday. And it's aggressive. And we just thought it would be really unsightly and even more of a pain to kind of manage.
What is you said a neighbor's pool, is that a residential pool or is it a public pool? Okay, and so people are slipping into it?
No, children are jumping from the Landa grounds over the fence into the neighbor's yard. Mm-hmm.
I had a similar concern with respect to the new SAWS, like watering rules and their fee structure that they've implemented. So sorry, let me clarify that. I had similar thoughts about Landa Gardens and all of our library facilities and how we would keep up with watering requirements there. And so it's timely that you're presenting this. I think it's great that you are considering xeriscape, and also that it's helpful that these prickly plants will also be a deterrent. So I think that I am in favor of that. I think that's really good. Do you have any other additional guidance from your landscape designer about the upkeep or the maintenance over time?
No, we could probably go back to him, but we approached this with exactly that in mind. What can we add that will not add to the maintenance costs that we already incur for taking care of the space? And so this is really the least intrusive on our continued budget for the maintenance of it. So.
We did discuss the impact, and it was minimal impact because that's always our first concern, especially since it's such a popular spot, not only for the library, but for the grounds. So no impact to services. We even saw on the, I don't know if it was this rendering or the other one, where everything would kind of funnel through. It was by the garage, and I think that's the one that had been repaired too.
Space here, if you look at where the Landa branches, you can see the parking lot kind of goes all the way up to the top left-hand side of the map, where you can see there's a deviation to the right-hand side in front of the garage. That has been typically used as a kind of landing space for materials. We just did sod back in 2021, and that was, for example, the staging place for the sod, and it goes there. It's a non-parking zone already. And so that space, as well as even behind I'll show you this, behind the pavilion, that currently is not landscaped. It's scrub back there. So there's an opportunity for us to be able to leverage that, and then as you kind of walk out with the landscaping, do it as we complete the space. Yeah.
I know the city offers residents a kind of incentive if they xeriscape at their house. Do they do that for nonprofits as well? Is there a partnership? Could it be the first partnership? I'm just curious.
I can go back and ask about that question. I believe that our Acequia design team is really very skilled in the xeriscape, so we could go back and ask those questions.
That may assist with cost, which
I
definitely.
think that, I'm familiar with that program. I think it's if you remove the irrigation below it, but it's a good suggestion to evaluate. Yeah, I don't think that it would work for that, but look into it. Any other questions? Okay. Jessica, do you have a motion to propose?
Some brief next steps as you consider a motion. First is the motion today being requested is for approval of conceptual plan for these improvements. And the reason that we're taking the approach of the conceptual plan is because the master garden, the master plan included in the agreement that we have with Land and Gardens Conservancy does reference a master plan. So since it is being amended, we do need some time to work with the city attorney's office and Land and Gardens to make amendments to this agreement. And this agreement has been in establishment, although the gardens have been as a formal entity since 2004. Our first agreement was in 2006. It was amended in 2014, again in 2021 through ordinance at City Council. The last time it went to council for amendment, we added a provision that essentially said any future amendments only needs to be approved by the library board and not go back to council. So we would just need to work through those steps to get an amendment put together. It's always good to relook at an agreement, make sure that the terms are still valid, especially with if there are changes to solids watering rules. We want to make sure that things are updated. So we will be doing that due diligence. However, we did not want to delay in any way Land and Gardens Conservancy's ability to fundraise, and they would like to commence fundraising in July. So that is why they can move forward with conceptual approval with fundraising with that, and then the board can come back at a later time when we have time to work through the agreement. So we're looking at that timeline being, and I have a typo, it's January 2025. So we'll work through with City Attorney's Office, Land and Gardens Conservancy regarding that. And for your consideration, I do have
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the Land and Gardens Conservancy's conceptual plan for the improvement of the grounds at the Land and Branch Library.
Second. A first from Andrea and a second from Marcy. Any questions or discussion?
It's on the tip of my tongue, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. So are there any liability issues or concerns with this jumping on the fence into the pool stuff now that we've been notified? And is that being, has risk management been involved, or do we need to, or? Okay.
part is reviewing the contract, because we want to be sure that everything is reviewed, fresh eyes, as this information is available.
And I'll just also mention, to Paul's point, I think even some signage for parents to be alerted, I think is important, if not some other safety measures, because this proposed planning is still a good year, well, 6 months it's going to start, and then potentially a year and a half before it's completed. So just to reduce any potential liability, whatever ways we can, it may be a multifaceted approach as well.
I might have mentioned liability too quick, because I also wanted to include safety in there, right? But, so.
Both, yeah. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we can take a roll call vote, Nicholas.
Carla Gurgiolo. Joanne Harris.
Aye.
Josie Martinez is absent. Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Aye.
Mary Ann Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Paul Stahl.
Aye.
Marcy Ince. Beth Graham,
Aye.
Judy Cruz is absent. Jaspreet Kaur. Motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Pickett, for presenting. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we do appreciate all of your board and your team's work making Landa Library grounds really beautiful. So thank you for coming out and continuing that work. That's what we need. Thank you. Item number 19 is to receive an update on the fiscal year 2025 budget development process. This is an action item, and Kathy's going to give us the update.
I'll make this report very brief. We had our June 15th meeting with the city manager about the operational budget, and it went very well. There are still two major improvements on the table that the city manager is considering for the proposed budget. The first is a staffing request for security. So I know we've presented this before, so you're familiar with it, but just briefly to say it would be 5 security positions full-time to staff overnight coverage for all the overnight hours for the library system, so that security team can respond to any needs overnight, and then also to have full staffing of our security desk here at Central during all of our public hours and staff hours. And then it does include a facilities operation manager who would be responsible for some higher level administrative work, like a training curriculum each year for the various needs of as well as our policies, procedures, quality control on our incident reports, and that type of work. So it was well received. It's still not being considered, so it's still kind of in the mix as we go forward. And then no need to really talk about the aspirational collection request because you got a full briefing on that. That's one of the reasons we wanted to give you that detail tonight, because that's the other major improvement. So that's on the operating side. Briefly on the capital side, that was the June 22nd meeting. And for the library, still on the table, are 2 shortfall requests. So by saying shortfall requests, what I mean is we have a current project, but we don't have enough funding to complete the original scope that we envisioned. So as part of the capital budget process for fiscal 25, we're asking for that gap funding for these 2 projects. One is the Collins Garden Library HVAC project. We originally envisioned replacing 1 condensing unit and 1 air handling unit. When we did the engineering assessment, they really recommended that we not just replace those 2 units that are 15 years old, but actually replace the remainder of the units. So there's 3 additional of each type that are 12 years old. We're just not getting the life out of the equipment that we used to because temperatures are just really high. So we asked for that request. It's $250,000. We also found that when we started looking at the design of the Johnston branch library interior improvements, like painting, flooring, we were also going to do restroom renovations. When we did the walkthrough regarding ADA upgrades for those restrooms, it became apparent that we couldn't just do it within the walls of the restroom as they stand. It would really require some expansion of that footprint and then also moving some plumbing and much more extensive things than we originally envisioned. So that is also a shortfall request of $378,000. So we're, of course, waiting to hear if those will be included in the city manager's proposed budget, but they were well received. And then in terms of new projects in the capital budget, we requested 2. So one is for the Cortez Branch Library. The last major improvement renovation of that one was, I believe, 2009. And so this would be a $1 million project, just over $1 million project to do exterior painting, parking lot improvements, security and site lighting, security camera improvements, and also a fence to kind of separate the branch from a field that's adjacent to it. So that's on the table. And then finally for Central Library, we have requested $2.8 million, and this is really for two major things. One is a replacement of the freight elevator. So the freight elevator is still licensed, as we do every year. It's safe, however, it's becoming towards end of life, the expected life of it. So we put that on the table, and then also, I'm really excited about this, a big package of security and safety improvements for the central library. That would include cameras in all areas of the library, a complete replacement of the intrusion alarm system, panic buttons at the desks, and then card access where we need it. What we've been doing at Central is as we touch parts of the building, because all those systems were not incorporated when it was originally built, we improve that area. So like children's area, we put in cameras, card access, et cetera, during that renovation project. But this would really be a package to finish the building so we could be done. So those two are still on the table for consideration. So I just wanted to give you that update tonight, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
On the Johnston restroom improvements, is some of that because code has changed since the building was constructed, or, okay?
So what we didn't want to do was try to do any kind of partial improvements, because once we start, we need to bring it up to current code. Right now it's grandfathered, so that's why we kind of had to go for the whole package of funding for the restroom improvements.
Branch libraries that Kathy provided updates to. Do you have any questions?
Questions, but I'm really excited about the fence option. I know that that lot right by Cortez has, it's been the bane of our existence because of the upkeep. So I'm really hoping that that does happen. I think it will provide a safer environment for our patrons and especially our staff.
I was going to ask, are there any safety issues there? There are, okay.
There have been some incidents that have led us to make this recommendation for scope related to that, yes.
Have an action item for us, or do we need to take action on this? No. It's just an update, okay. Thank you. And the last item on the agenda was to receive an update. I feel that I covered the update during the committee report, so we can skip that item, and I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Are you looking for some kind of record? Because this is the quickest I think we've ever.
I've been very vocal about my desire to make the meetings a little bit shorter.
It was sent and received.
Well, I wasn't seeing proof of that desire on the previous meetings, so I'm encouraged. This is wonderful. I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Thank you, Paul.
I'll second that.
All right, I don't think we need to vote on that. Thank you all for your time.